back, everybody. I'm Mike Vetter. I'm here interviewing my uncle Leo, who's the youngest of his family, youngest of 13. And so maybe just to start, Leo, why don't you say your name and how old you are, your birthday, those types of things.
Okay. I'm Leo S. Vetter. S is for Stanislaus. And I was born in June 28, 1944.
Were you born in the hospital?
No, I was the only one in the family that was born in Lytton. They had a birding place where they took the mothers. And so supposedly it was a rainy day, according to Wendland, and he had to drag the old Plymouth out to Highway 13, or the Model A out to Highway 13, and they took off from there and hauled me to Lytton, or Mom to Lytton.
Was it in the winter or summer? When's
June 28th. Yeah, it was a lot of, his dad was afraid he's going to get stuck and that's going down to the highway.
Oh, really? Huh. So, what was your earliest memory that you can remember?
Oh, boy.
Think back. I know it's hard.
I know the one thing that I remember, somebody asked me that question. I remember being flower boy for Anne and Frank's wedding, which was in 1948. And I remember being flower boy, and I remember them wanting me to dance. And I remember I got a little accordion that year, a little 4-bass. And John, he's the musician in the family at that time, and a song on the radio was, "Oh, I don't want her, you can have her, she's too fat for me," and he taught me how to play that song on that little accordion.
Do you still know how to play it?
I still got the accordion, I still know how to play it, but the accordion doesn't work so good no more.
So, how old were you then at that time?
4 years old.
So you were 4, so you remember, you got a good memory. And where was that wedding at?
The wedding, it was, I think, I know the reception was at St. Michael's. I think they went to Napoleon for the evening. Yeah, they went to Napoleon for the wedding dance.
Okay. So you grew up on a farm. Tell me a little bit about your house that you grew up in. What did it look like?
You know, there was, you know, I don't remember a lot. I remember when they were building the new house. And at that time, the house, Stu would remember, there's the old house, the new house, but there was an addition to it. They tore part of it out. But I remember them building, and I remember Uncle Wendland was one of the main carpenters. Conrad Wald was one of the main carpenters.
When you say Uncle Wendland?
Wangler.
Okay.
And believe it or not, especially Tony, we ran after him and picked up his cigarette butts and smoked them. So I remember that.
Did you?
Yes.
Did you get sick?
Yeah, you know, they throw their cigarette butts and we run after them and pick them up and light them up.
And they were the ones without a filter, too.
Without filter.
That's funny. So you remember the old house, but not too much. So
well, yeah, that's about it. I remember Al Wald and I were babies, and we were young. We were 5 years old. Elizabeth was helping in the house, and they had the son, Joe, who passed away. He was sick. He'd be crying and crying. We were supposed to babysit him. And I remember trying to get him quiet. Pretty soon Elizabeth came, and all 3 of us were crying. Because he was so miserable. So, but yeah, I other than that, I remember sleeping one night and it was raining. There was, I think, 5 of us in a bed in with our parents, and it rained through the roof, and then the plaster fell off the roof and it came down bouncing on us. So they took us there and they put us in their bed and they got up. I don't know where they slept. I suppose they slept on the couch.
So who was still home when you were?
Well, at that time, you know, I was born in 44. Elizabeth got married in 45. So they were all, but the one I remember Anne because of the wedding, and then John, and then the rest of them down. Yeah,
We're still all home.
yeah, yeah. I remember that. The other thing about the house, we had relatives from Canada, I think, or from someplace came, and it was cold, really cold. And they stayed at our place. And then John and your dad, August, they had to sleep in the attic. And I remember being in mom and dad's room and mom saying to dad, take another feather blanket up because they're going to freeze to death up in the attic because there was no heat up there.
Oh boy.
And they came out of the attic in the morning and they, you know what? They were okay.
That's interesting. So, what was a normal weekday like for you when you were younger?
You know, I was the youngest. And so the older ones have a whole different story than I did. And if whoever knows Austin, the youngest one always has kind of a special place in the house with mom. So I spend a lot of time with her, and I take my noon naps with mom and dad, mostly with dad. And but you know, I milked, and you know, they put me out on the rake when I was about 7, 8 years old, but it was, I didn't have to work like the older ones did. I mean, I got out in the field as a second man.
So, if you, what was like a Sunday like for you?
Fun. I think Bernie and I talk about that quite a bit. We had cousins, and Sunday meant, especially in the wintertime, meant sledding. In the summertime, it meant going down Beaver Creek, going swimming. We never had to work other than doing the family chores. And so we just had a whole lot of visiting most of the time, made ice cream Sunday afternoon, cousins getting together and playing games.
So, did you always have company on Sundays?
Always.
Always.
If nothing else, it was cousins.
Yeah. And you played? Do you know some of the games you would have played?
You know, we played a lot of ball, softball, kick the can.
How does kick the can go?
Basically, you know, it's a base, home base. And you try to get to the can and you kick it away and then you take off again and the guy has to put the can back
And someone's there trying to protect the can?
yeah, a lot of times somebody try to protect it and sometimes you try to gang up and, you know, 2, 3 guys coming against 2 and try to get to the can. Yeah.
So, did you have any chores that you were responsible for?
Yeah, you know, we all had to milk. I remember starting milking when I was about 5 years old. I had one cow that was tame as heck. I had rabbits. I grew up having to take care of the rabbits.
Just as a pet, or did you eat them?
No,
or what?
we sold. They were Angora rabbits, and once a month, Adam and Joe would cut the wool, and we sell it. And
You sold the wool from the rabbits?
Mm-hmm. And by the time we got married, Dad put my money into the Hazelton Credit Union. And by the time we got married, I had $500 in there.
All from rabbit
From
fur.
the rabbits, yeah. He might have added some, I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So, so you helped milk.
Yeah.
That was your job. You had all the other animals, pigs, chickens.
Chickens, pigs. I mean, yeah. You know, feed the chickens, pick the eggs. The pigs, of course, they're a mess. Manure all the barns. Not only ours, August's, and Adam's, and John's, and Wendland's.
Got a lot
Not
of
every week. Yeah.
a lot of practice.
A lot of practice.
So,
You know, I was more like a hired man because there are so many farms around. So, like I said, my dad was kind of retired by the time we came along. He really didn't work out in the field, so it didn't really matter to me where I was, if I worked for John, if I worked for Wendland or August or Adam. So, yeah.
So let's talk about your mom and dad a little bit. What type of person was your mother? What was she like as a person? I know she came over as a young girl from
She
the...
came over in 1912. In fact, she came over on the ship that she came over on is the George Washington. And they came over here, I think it was March 28th. And George Washington warned the Titanic that there were icebergs out there. So she saw the icebergs. And she talked about this big ship hitting him and going down. I had no idea who it was till later on the Titanic was figured out it was the Titanic.
So they were on the ocean at the same time?
Well, they just got to America before it went down, yeah.
But she saw icebergs.
Oh, yeah,
floating.
they saw, like I said, the George Washington, the ship they came on, warned the Titanic there's ice out there.
Wow. I didn't know that's a new one. I never heard that one before. So how old was she at that time?
Well, she was born in 2 and this was in 12, so she would have been 10 years old.
10 years old. Did she talk much about the old country?
You know, not so much. You know, later on when she got sick, Grandma spent a whole summer with us, Grandma Wengler. And she did. When Grandma Wengler came to the house, you know, we used to, after got home from school, we would eat and then go out and milk the cows. When Grandma Wengler came, we milked the cows and then came into the house to eat. So the conversation went on till bedtime, 10 o'clock. And she talked a lot about Ukraine. You know, I was pretty young, but I remember saying how nice it was over there, the orchards they had over there, and living close to each other. Where once they got over here, of course, they lived out in the prairie and nowhere.
Did they miss it?
Yeah. You know, by the time I came along, of course, this was like 1950s now. You know, they were used to America, and they're glad that when they knew what was happening over there. But at the time, you know, they weren't supposed to come over. I don't know if you knew that, but Anton Wengler, that would be Grandpa Wengler's brother, he went back to Russia to settle the estate and bring his younger sister Veronica back to America. And the night before they were to leave for America, she decided she didn't want to go. So my grandparents packed up everything, got rid of everything overnight, jumped on the ship the next day and came to America.
So his sister Veronica never...
She never came over. She never made it.
So I was...
They had letters, you know, later on. I saw somebody had where they wrote, if you got any extra money, we're starving to death over here.
So we never, or you never really heard what happened to them, or if
No.
they did
No,
starve, or were they sent to Siberia?
Yeah, all I heard that a lot of them were, but exactly who, I don't know. Yeah.
So when I was looking through the Wengler book there, you have it in front of you, there, I know I saw someplace in the back, I think where they're interviewing Wendland maybe?
Yeah, when
He said Veronica fell overboard on the ship and was saved. Is that your mother, or was...
That would have been my mother. She was 10 years old at that time. They never really talked about that. I know one thing. They said that her father, Wendland Wengler, he was really sick. Now, was it seasick? They said sick to the stomach. I don't know. But they were afraid he's going to die and they're going to throw him overboard. But they never mentioned to me. I know I read the article, and I'm not sure what that is.
Did they see some other people thrown overboard, or why were they so afraid?
Yeah, they said as people died, they just basically put them in a plastic bag and threw
them in the ocean. Wow. Now, your mother, was she educated then over in Russia?
Yeah. She never went to school in America.
Did she speak Russian or German or
German.
both?
It was all German. Yeah, they're German Russians, and they never really mixed in with the Russians at that point.
So, did she ever speak English?
Yeah, nah. Yes, no. But no, not
Very
really.
little. So,
Yeah.
when you spoke to her or she spoke to you, it was always in German?
It's always German, yeah.
So,
She went to school in Ukraine, I think she said second grade, and then they came to America, and after that she didn't go to school.
so she only had like second grade?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you think that held her back, or was she still pretty bright?
Well,
on certain
she was
things?
a mother, and she knew how to discipline. I mean, Joe makes the comment every once in a while. When they got married, Mary would lift her arm and he'd go like this. He'd try to dug her, but yeah. But she knew how to discipline. Dad was the other one. He was laid back. And if anybody knows August, Mike's dad, she was a lot like August. You heard her from a mile away, and she didn't hesitate.
So she was more the disciplinary
Oh yeah,
person.
like Adam and I said, we've probably averaged 2 lickings a day. And a lickiness.
Yeah.
And but Dad was one of those, you never heard the noise, and he just sat quiet and listened. Pretty soon Mom said, well, catch him for me at least. Oh, what? What's going on? He had no idea.
Really?
He read a lot, yeah.
So did she have some sayings? Can you remember some sayings, maybe even in German, that she used to say, or as she would try
There
to
was,
correct
but
you?
the one thing I remember, whenever, especially her brother John Wengler, he was a musician. When they came, it was always singing, and I hear some of the songs on the radio or in YouTube. It's like, oh yeah, they sang that song, and a lot of those are kind of what you say? I don't know if they're prayerful songs. They're more of homesickness, goodbye songs. Shan is nice world or things like that. But yeah, and at the time I didn't realize it now until later on. All of a sudden I recognized some of the songs.
Did she have any, what were some of the German words that she used?
Oh no, it was one of them. Stell dich mal ein, behave yourself. She said it in German. I wouldn't know how to say it in German. Before we left, change your underwear in case you have an accident.
Really? She
Yeah.
said, and in German she said it?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
And
interesting.
so yeah.
Did she worry? Was she a worry person? Did she worry?
Yeah,
about-
she was the warrior in the family, and and I don't know if Dad did, but I'm sure he did, but he didn't say it. She was Vogel. Whatever she had in her mind, she said it, and but as tough as she was fair. She was not.
Did she cry easy?
Yeah.
Did you see her cry?
Yeah. She cried easy. Dad didn't.
What would make her cry?
Oh, seeing people go, especially people leave. Older people didn't know if they're going to see each other again. Or later on in years, as she got older, especially like when I left for high school, she'd cry all morning before we left, and yeah.
So you talked about high school. Let's talk about your schooling a little bit. So where did you first go to school? Was
Well,
it close?
I went right at a little country school, half a mile, 3/4 mile south of us, for the first 8 years. And I had an oldest sister, or not my youngest sister. She was my first teacher, first 3 years. And then I had Julia Warner. I had her for the next 2 years. And then brother Adam for 2 years. Then a cousin Adam Bumstark for 1 year. So that's why I'm as smart as I am.
So you had your own brother and sister that
Yeah. And after that, I went to the Assumption Abbey at Richardson.
So who was your favorite teacher in those first 8 years, would you say?
You know, I'm not going to say Adam and Adam. I'm probably going to say Julia and Christine. You know, Christine, she disciplined me a lot more because she knew that I was a little brother. Julia Warner, I liked Julia a lot. She was good.
What happened if you got in trouble in school?
Well, when you got into trouble, you got it back home again.
So they would tell your parents?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even really take a long time. How many times you screwed up in school, got home, yeah, you didn't behave. Oh. So got it again from mom, so yeah.
So in those first 8 years, would you say you were shy? Were you shy or were you an outgoing child?
You know, I was probably pretty outgoing till I went to high school and got in front of a lot of strangers. You know, the first 8 years, the people we were in contact with were mostly relatives or neighbors. Knew them well. All of a sudden you get mixed in with people from all over the country. Some not so good, some bad. And then I got shy. It's like something hit like you, you know, I was not in control anymore. But there was always upperclassmen, especially in the beginning. They told you where you belonged.
So did you, I know you spoke German then at home all the time. In school, like high school, did you speak German?
No.
Did anybody there speak German?
There's a lot of them that spoke up that we didn't know. Nobody spoke. You know, like there's a number of kids from Napoleon that were there, bitches and grosses. They all spoke German, but we never spoke German with each other.
Let's see. So you were out in Richardson. That seemed like a far way.
Well, it was. You know, your little country boy gets sent, have no land. I mean, there was no interstate. The roads were not good. They put you, take you out there, drop you off, and don't see anybody anymore until, or get to go home till Thanksgiving. And the first Thanksgiving, or it's probably not the first, probably the second, we were ready to go home. It was a big snowstorm, and they couldn't come and get us. Of course, there was no phones. They couldn't call us. So we decided to take the train. And before we got the train, we paid this one senior who was older to pick up some whiskey from the bar. So we all picked up a half a pint of whiskey and a pack of cigarettes, and we jumped on the train. And we ended up at Dawson, and there was nobody to pick us up. Then Joe Welder was with us. His dad, Mike Welder, picked Joe up. They had telephone over in that part. And so we went to Mike Welder's. All of a sudden, Ben showed up. How in the hell he knew we were in Mike Welder's, I got no idea. But this story with this whiskey, some of the guys from Montana, they did the same thing. And they were supposed to get off in Billings and some in Glendive. They ended up going all the way out of Seattle.
Maybe they got some
a little
more.
bit too much whiskey.
They might have found some more.
You know what? That story only came out at the 60th reunion.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. So, what did you guys do over at Richardson for fun? Was there sports then, or did you?
Yeah, school ended at 4. Then sports. I played a lot of handball, played a lot of volleyball, played basketball. I was not in a football team itself, but. The one thing that I did just about every night went for a walk. They had a big pastor, Father Brian and I. We go for walks, go out there. There was a spring out there, drink some water, and walk back. And Saturdays we go down, build a campfire, take a little food along, cook it up, but yeah, there was always something.
Would you say school was hard,
Yeah,
rigorous, kind of?
in the beginning especially. The first, there's things that they brought up we had no idea what in the heck they were talking about. And
Do you remember like one thing, maybe an example?
write an essay. Never heard of an essay. Literature. Get into some of the literature, and then the Abby was pretty good with some of those things. Teaching it to us. The history part, the global, international. I had no clue what's going on. So, it's like they talk about Rome or they talk about whatever. It's like it's all Greek. So yeah.
Well, let's take a little break and then
Okay.
we'll come back and talk some more. All right. So let's talk a little bit about work. We talked about your work when you were young or on the farm. You said you were kind of like a hired man. What was your first job?
Actually, my first job was, okay, I'll start in college. I worked for a plumber putting asbestos in, so.
Asbestos?
Yeah, that was after school for about 6 months. But actually, the first real job was Wiley Music.
So when you put asbestos in, did you have masks and everything?
No, didn't know how to. It was easy to put in because it had no smell to it.
Yeah? Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And only later did you find out all the... Did you ever have any trouble with it?
So far as that I know of, I haven't had any issues. But
From the asbestos? Okay, so then what was your next job again?
I worked for Wiley Music for about a year. And basically selling pianos, but being the new guy and the young guy, I did a lot of deliveries. Yeah, I was young and I was pretty tough at that time. And then after a year, I decided to sell insurance for a couple of years. And it was okay. Things were starting to happen a little bit. And as time was going on, when I applied to go at Game and Fish, I was in college. I wanted a summer job. Well, I didn't get the summer job. And all of a sudden, one guy quit, and the same day, Bald Cervetter, who was kind of a relative of my dad, he was taking the garbage out, and here my job application was laying on top. And he called me. He says, by any chance, are you interested? I said, I got no idea. That's been 4 years ago. Come on down, talk to me. I went down, and said, when do you want to start? It's like, oh. And I said, give me a week. And I went home, and I thought about, Game of Fish is something I always wanted to do. The best thing I ever did.
And how long did you work then?
41 years.
41 years. And retired?
And retired in 2010.
2010. How old were you then?
66.
66. What did you like the best about your job?
The thing that I liked, I worked as a wildlife tech, and I got to work with everybody in the field. So when they needed help, I did a lot of trapping, a lot of survey work. Whenever they needed help, can you help? Yeah. And so I was out in the field a lot. And so, wild turkeys, I spent a lot of time trapping. Actually, I was the first one to trap and move turkeys around the state. So I did that for, I don't know how many winters, go out and trap turkeys, move them a lot of times from western North Dakota to eastern North Dakota.
So you said it was the best thing you ever did was take that job. So if you'd give some advice to young people about work and about their job, what would you tell them?
I guess I wouldn't look so much at exactly what it's going to pay. If you do something you really, really like, do it. I mean, if I had to go back and say I want to pick another career, I'd probably do the same thing. It was up my alley, outdoors, worked with people, free time. We worked hard, and then we played hard. So
And when it was all over, you still could retire and had enough.
still had a retirement. The state had a pretty good retirement plan, so it worked out for us.
Sometimes I think in this day and age, it seems like so many young people, they're just not settled. They can't find
Yeah.
what they're.
I mean, we worked hard. I mean, in the earlier years when I was working, I mean, I was out in the field cultivating trees. I put on 70 hours most weeks in the summertime and the fall. But as time went on, things changed around a lot. But the people I worked with and the work I did was fun.
What part of your work were you most proud of? Would you say that?
Probably, the restoration of the wild turkeys. I mean, I trapped thousands and thousands of turkeys and moved them and got them going all over the state. Because in the early 50s, that's when they were brought into North Dakota. And then they were pretty much up by Washburn area. And then all of a sudden the guy had a lot of turkeys and he wanted some out. So Game and Fish told me to go up and see if I can trap some out of there.
So
And-
was there a shortage of turkeys, or
Well,
were they
North
being
Dakota,
shot?
North Dakota is not, they were not native. They came in from Pennsylvania. And so we, and with it was the Wild Turkey Federation. We delivered turkeys all the way to Idaho.
Really?
Yeah. So
Well, I know your great grandpa liked or raised peacocks, right?
peacocks, yeah, they have
And
peacocks.
so maybe you got a little of that, except they were a
Yeah.
bigger bird.
Yeah, with the work I did, like I said, I got to do trapping of just about every animal there is in North Dakota, working with the mountain lions all the way to pheasants and turkeys and grouse.
So let's talk a little bit about family and relationships. When you were younger, how did you meet people, and how did you date? Was it
Well, everything was open to as far as dating as long as it wasn't east of Highway 3.
not east of Highway 3?
Yeah, they were non-Catholic over there, so stay away from east.
So you were told that?
Oh yeah, pretty much. I mean, not in so many words. As you go to dance, Strasbourg is good, Hague is good, Napoleon is good, but Wishick, well, you might run into the wrong girl.
Yeah. Did you go over there sometimes to wish?
Not the only time we went over there. I think we went to the county fair once or twice. Yeah.
Yeah. Did your parents give you any advice about marriage or?
Not really. I got advice from parents, especially like my dad. I know the one thing he said when we got married. There's two things you got to do. You got to get along with your neighbors, and you got to get along with your co-workers. He said, you get along with them, life is going to be easy.
That was good advice.
Yep.
Did you think of it often?
A lot. Yeah. And, I told Bernie the other day, her mom, we were married about a month, two maybe. And we were in the backyard of Bernie's family. And said, I want to talk to you. She said in German. I want to tell you one thing. If you work together as you and her, then you can make it no matter how much money or how little money you make. But if you work together, you can make it.
Can you say it in German yet? Can you still hear it?
I couldn't. Bernie probably could,
Yeah.
but I.
It's funny. So, so what would you think, or what would you say makes a marriage last?
Pretty much the advice that Bernie's mom gave us. Work together, do things together, and don't look at the little details, and have fun. You know, I think that so many people are way too serious. I don't think they know how to. A lot of times they have fun, and have fun with each other. You hear now and then different people making comments. Yeah, it's okay. You know, I think that some of these old timers. I asked my dad one time, when you were my age, I was about 30 years old. I asked him, "What's your life better? Do you have more fun than we do?" He was a slow thinker. You know him, Mike. He sat there. We had more fun. You think too hard. And this was 50 years ago. He said, you don't know how to just let loose. Don't worry. He said, sometimes you got to just let loose and have fun with each other. And yeah.
That's good advice. I think that is still probably really good advice.
Yeah.
Because I see that myself, and people my age and younger, that they're pretty worried about things. What do you think has changed most during your lifetime? What, if you look back, what was some of the biggest changes that you would say, or you never thought would be
Revolution
possible?
War, yeah. Well, I started out working with horses. I'm one of the last generation that worked with horses. I was on the field rigging with the horses, cultivating corn with the horses. All of a sudden, of course, we had tractors already, but we were taught we had to learn how to do it with the horses first. And then, of course, the computers, cell phones. Who would have ever thought you could go on a cell phone and talk to people all over the world, get pictures? The technology of it all, and that's kind of scary.
It's scary. Do you think it was good or mostly
Well, I
scary?
think it's probably needed for what we do right now, but things are going so fast that I think people haven't really caught up with the technology all the way yet, and us older people, we're just kind of left in the let's put don't know what's going on. We can get scammed easy enough. We have no clue what the hell is going on. Doctor reports. The doctor doesn't call you up and say, well, you got to get your cholesterol checked. They send it in the mail, and you're supposed to open it up and read it that your cholesterol needs to. Things like that. I think a lot of people is like, let's forget about it.
Yeah. So technology, that's a big. What are the things, would you say, that worries you the most today about today's world, or in your own family, or our families just in general?
What I worry that we're making tough life so complicated. There's no such a thing as simplicity. I worry about, I look at, I read the other day that the biggest landowner in America owns over 2 million acres. Well, how many farmers could you put on and run farms that are smaller? And they have a life. I like farming. I think the world of farmers. But they're getting so big, they kind of forget about the simplicity, getting together, supporting each other. And, for the grandkids, not getting to know, the big extended families. And it's like, I'm for me, we do for me. And so I worry that life is just going to be, have kids and move on. Throw me in the ashes into the water and forget about them.
You talked earlier about Sundays when you were young, growing up, that you mostly didn't have to work. Was religion a big part of your life?
God, yes, yeah. Between Christmas and Easter, or not Christmas, Easter, Christmas and New Year's, we never worked. Manured the barns, fed the cattle, then we were free. After we were done with the chores, ran up to one of the uncles, Warners, Grosses, Vetters, Wolves, all the kids, all the cousins, they all went there. Spend the afternoon, went home, milked. The older ones took off again with each other, and the younger ones had to stay home.
So-
But there was always, my dad and mom didn't expect us. Mom didn't cook. That's a week she didn't have to cook. She had everything prepared. You guys help yourself. They went visiting and saw their friends.
So that was a big time between Christmas and New
Oh,
Year.
God, yeah. I mean, talk about fun.
They had fun and
And, that's the ones my age. When we were younger, sledding was a big thing. Going down Beaver Creek, ice skates. We couldn't skate worth a darn, but we had old skates and, play tag
your
or
own
whatever.
fun, huh?
We made our own fun, yeah.
Yeah, I think that is so true. That's good advice. I think that people take themselves too seriously. And do you think by you being tied so closely to your religion and your background, did that help in your living with some of the lessons?
Especially now. You learned as well as I did when there was anything to do with the church holidays, and it got ingrained in us that Sundays you go to church. No ands, if, buts, or ors. And I think, my dad and mom, they were very involved, especially my dad in church. And, just he believed in it. He didn't really criticize the church, saying, well, they should have done it this way. They should. Yeah, that's okay. You learn from it, you move on. And I hope I can give an example to the kids where grandkids can someday say, it's important. Right now at age 81, that's the biggest thing in their life. It wouldn't be for going to church every day and all that. Life would be boring.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about how fast everything's going. What do you think young people today are doing better than maybe we did or your generation?
Okay. I think the younger people again are going back to the church. I think there was a time after Vatican II first came out, nobody knew, do you want to be Vatican I or do you want to be Vatican II? There was a big divide. And so what was the question again?
Well, what were we talking about?
Well, we were talking about the...
What are young people? What do you think they do better than we do?
what do they do better? I think some, especially the younger generation, my kids' age, which are in the 50s, 60s, I think they missed through some of the, especially religion stuff, because what was going on. There's a big divide. Young people are starting to go to church again. They're getting involved in church. I think the other thing is, I think they learning to take time out again rather than for themselves. I watch our grandkids, and they do a good job raising their kids. They take time, they spend time, take them to places. So yeah, as far as doing better, I don't know. There's a lot of things they can do a lot better than we can, but
Yeah. So what if you could look back or make a change, maybe what advice do you think you'd give your younger self? Would you change anything about what you did?
I don't know. Now that it's just about over with, if I had to live my life over again, I'd live it again. I made a lot of mistakes. I did a lot of stupid things.
Do you think people worry too much about their mistakes?
Yeah. I think, don't take things too seriously. I think there was a time where I probably did a lot of, am I going to make it? Where's the next dollar coming from? Even working game of fishes, as much as I liked my job, the money was not very good. Should I be doing something different? But now that it's over with, it was all meant to be.
So what are you most grateful for, would you say?
Well, first of all, we've been fairly healthy. That's big right now. That Aunt Clara, when Austin got ordained over Rome in 1992 as a deacon for the priesthood, we were debating if we should go. I talked to Aunt Clara. She said, go. And if you absolutely can't afford it, I'll pay it. She said, now we worked our butts off, and now we got money. Then he dies on me when he was 60s. Now that money is my biggest headache. That's when we decided, you know what, we're going to start doing things. And I give the advice to my kids, grandkids, don't wait till you're 80. Do it. The best thing we did that time, since we went to Europe, that first time we've been over there 6 times. Loved it. Absolutely, the world expanded, got big for us.
Oh, that's good advice. Anything else you'd like to say?
Not really. I guess I was fortunate. I was youngest of 13. We all got to live to be fairly old. Never got beat up, but never got killed by any of them. And, we get into fights, we get into arguments, but we always came out after the end of the day and it's like, oh, what do we talk about? Why do we fight? No clue.
How do you think you were able to do that? Because you still got together, right, all together when they were all alive, all 13. Everybody's different, but you were able to...
Yeah, we kind of left our, whatever was said, we left it, that's gone. And for some reason, we were just lucky that nobody held a grudge against each other, say, well, you should have done this, you should have paid this, you got more than I did. Everybody pretty much like, yeah, you know what, we got each other. That little bit, we got that farmhouse by Adams. We got it in 1977, I believe. It's on Adams' land. We're hooked onto his well. We're hooked onto his electricity. And we haven't made no changes. They still hooked on us but we get along. We just kind of, they're glad to see us, I think, and we're glad to see them. And it's like, it works.
If we can back up a little bit when we talked, I know your mother died at a pretty young age, and I was going to ask you about that. What was that like? I know she was sick. How old were you when she died?
Well, I was 19 when she died, and the latter years when she was sick, I was going to school there at the Abbey, and I take a bus about every 2 weeks from Richardson to Bismarck. And I hitchhike. I shouldn't say take a bus. I hitchhiked to Bismarck, took a bus back. And, at that time, they didn't want to give the patients that had pain any painkillers. You might get addicted to them. But you go up to that cancer center in St. A's at that time. They were just screaming from every corner of women or men in pain. And, that kind of sticks in my mind. Probably one of the better years I spent when she came home that last time. I just got out of high school. And, she was in her room a lot, in her bedroom or the living room, sitting in the chair. And in the afternoon or the evening, Dad always would say, go in and just talk to Mom. I said, well, we talked yesterday. We got to just sit with her, play the organ or whatever. And, and now that I think back, one thing we always said was the rosary. I say half English, she half German. Our Father who art in heaven, holy Mother Goddess, but I don't even remember German. And so we say a rosary, and then we talked about whatever. But I got to know her a little bit better that last summer that I was at home. Yeah.
Did she complain much about?
No, she didn't complain, you know. And a lot of times she wanted, Ben had a tape player. He said, put on the music from Johan is her brother, accordion. And so, yeah.
What was it like when you heard? Were you home when she passed? or
Yeah, you
how
know,
did that-
I was actually, they came up and told, I was helping Adam. We were building a fence. And I think Ben came up and said she died. And it was expected. You know, even at that time already, 19 years old, maybe I was too dumb to know any pain, but it wasn't real painful for me. You know, it's kind of, that's what you're supposed to do. So.
Because I think didn't her mother live longer than she
Yeah,
did?
so her mother outlived her, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, great. So do you still play some music? I know you
No.
you like
I
music.
hate to say it. I don't. I got a piano in there. I sold pianos. I need to. I told Bernie yesterday. I said I need to get that piano cleaned up again and play a little bit. So
Good.
yeah.
Well, great. Thanks for
Yeah.
visiting a little bit, and we find out a little more about each other as we
Yeah.
go along. So
Yeah. Well, thanks.
you bet.